So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here on this webinar about building agile culture with growth mindset. So we have people here from London, from Egypt, from Portugal, and I'm glad you're all here. And if you're seeing this after the live presentation, welcome. And this is for you as well. So if you have any questions about this topic, you can put them already in the chat. You don't have to wait for the Q&A. I like to make my webinars more interactive. So it's okay if you want to interact in the middle, just let me know through voice, because it's really hard when I'm presenting to check the chat. I have to stop and check the chat. So if you have any questions, just drop them in. So we are going to talk about how a growth mindset drives innovation and adaptability. But first, I would like to ask you a question. Do you think we can influence people's mindset, or do you think that that's something that comes with the person? I would love to hear your opinions, and you can just put them in the chat and I'll check them in a while.
Okay, I can
Okay,
I can speak for myself, yes, but I think we can make the that change in the mindset of the other people's. I think.
Yeah.
Opinion.
Let's check that. So for those who don't know me yet, I'm Carol Palombini, and I'm CEO of Palombini Consultancy, and I'm also a tech leadership expert. So I usually partner with CEOs and HR leaders to build leadership programs and cultural development. I'm a psychologist. I have 20 years in people development. I was head of HR in 3 companies, and I've been consulting since 2017. So if you want to learn more about me, I'm not going to waste your time here. Just go to my LinkedIn profile and you get all the information you need there, and you can reach out to me very easily. But my proposal here, Luis, can I ask you to mute your microphone because there's a background noise? Thank you. The first thing I want you to do here is to challenge your own mindset. If you're here, you are interested in understanding what growth mindset is and the impact that it can give to the agility, productivity in your company. So the first thing is open your mind to things that can challenge the way you see things. Because this isn't just a webinar, it's a working session to spark real cultural change. Before we get into the topic per se, I've received these 2 questions that I want to address during the webinar. But if you have any more questions, please send them on the chat. And you can also scan this QR code to subscribe to get the resources if you haven't subscribed to the form yet. Because at the end, you will receive a growth mindset self-assessment. So the slides and the recording and an action plan template that I included in the last minute as a resource bonus. And right after this webinar, you will get all these resources. And if you'd like help interpreting the results or taking any action based on the assessments that you've done, please reach out to me and I can explain how you can do that in a very short and fast. And as a matter of fact, I'm giving you a 50-minute debriefing session. So just reach out to me and you get your debriefing session. And whether if it's a workshop or a team program, I can help you, your leaders, walk the talk. So what are we talking about when we talk about agile culture? Since I've been head of HR in tech companies and I've been consulting for tech companies and CTOs, I usually see that this is the framework that's most adopted by technology companies, although it can be applied to other types of industry as well. But the main thing here, if you're here, I bet you already know what an agile culture is, and you want to know how you can actually get there. You can actually make people walk the talk and be agile and follow the framework. So we have to broaden a little bit of our... Alex is joining. What I propose to you is that you open your mindset to understanding agile culture, not just agile framework. The agile framework and tools, they're embedded in this agile culture, but it's not the agile culture per se. So when we're talking about agile culture, we're talking about working environment to thrive in uncertain and complex situations that we are living now, and I don't know when we are going to start living more stable times. But to get to this ability to thrive in uncertain scenarios, we need to embrace adaptability, collaboration, and continuous improvement. And what are companies getting wrong about the way we approach agile culture? The first thing is when people think that agile culture is the same thing as agile tools. Cultures live in mindsets, not in software. Culture is the set of behaviors that it's actually performed in that company. So understanding that point is it's easy to understand point two. Most people think that they have only one culture because they have a mission and a vision statement that it's written somewhere and that it's presented on the onboarding. But the reality is you likely have many cultures. You can have different cultures within the same company because you have different leaders with different mindsets there. The third one is that people just need to try harder. So if you're thinking that agility, adopting agile practices, embracing uncertainty, it's a matter of willpower, then you are definitely on the wrong track. We are going to talk today about how culture is built by habit creation. People need new habits. The fourth misconception that I usually come across, especially on tech companies, is that usually you hire people with the right mindset. So you get a candidate and you talk to them and you are really impressed by the open mind they have, the innovation capabilities they showed in the previous companies. But when they get into the team, nothing happens. He's not innovative anymore. And what happens is exactly what I'm going to explain to you during this webinar. But the thing to understand here is that mindsets aren't fixed, they are grown. And to answer the questions that I put in at the start of this webinar, yes, people can change mindsets and we can help them move mindsets. So if you're hiring for this type of mindset and you think it's going to stick, you're probably making the wrong bet instead of developing your team's mindset. Also, it's a very common misconception to think that culture is a HR job. So HR is responsible for building this culture of embracing innovation and actually learning from each other. But it's not only HR, it's HR and leaders. This is a co-owned role. And I'm going to explain how can, in practical ways, HR help to build this culture and what can leaders do to develop this culture. And the sixth thing is one that when I was starting to study the habit formation, the science of habit formations and the science of behavior change, this one was actually struck me as being weird. Actually, I thought that if you created enough awareness about the importance of something, people would change. And research proves now that that's not the case. Awareness is not enough. It's a starting point, it's super important, but it's not enough to break bad habits. And what we want is to break bad habits. And what is the problem when you don't pay attention to mindsets? You think that that's just a fluffy thing and that's not that important. The problem is that you adopt the agile tools, you adopt, for instance, stand-ups. Everyone holds stand-up meetings, and they turned into routine. You actually don't get the status report you wanted. It's also very common to see autocratic leadership raise on this kind of environment. But in the end, the most painful thing is that leaders start getting super tired of training after training. They even sometimes like the training at the end, but they don't change behavior. And you're wasting time and your budget on content-led solutions that are not created to change behavior. They're not enough. They're just a first step. So what agile culture needs, why agile culture needs a growth mindset? So what is the relation between the agile culture and the growth mindset? Basically, growth mindset is ingrained in agile culture. An agile culture demands a growth mindset. It could be considered part of this framework by fostering learning and improvement. According to Carol Dweck, who is the creator of this concept and who's been doing research over 30 years about growth mindset, this growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate through your efforts, your strategies, and help from others. So a growth mindset culture can only flourish if you have an agile culture can only flourish with growth mindset. The growth mindset is the condition for you to embrace change and innovation, actually to adapt. Think like this. If you have a fixed mindset, you don't believe that you can change and develop. You believe that you have a certain amount of talent and that you can get up to a point with those talents, like if you are intelligent or if you have a music talent, but you're not going to develop anything else. You're already good at what you have. So adaptability becomes super hard when you think like this. And also, a growth mindset can only flourish in a psychologically safe environment where people feel okay to make mistakes. So it's also about how you are allowing people to explore, to take risks, to learn in the end. So the key thing to remember here is that agile culture depends on growth mindset and psychological safety. And how can you spot the signs of a fixed mindset culture? As I mentioned to you, people with a fixed mindset, they don't believe they can change, develop or adapt. But usually when you think about that, you think people that are kind of limited. They don't want to grow, they don't want to learn. You never think about a star talent as a fixed mindset person. But that's a very common thing. When you have a very knowledgeable person, either if it's a collaborator or if it's a leader, and they are the star talents, they're super proud of the talents they have. They know they're super talented, but they also think that that's the only thing they have. They are extremely focused on protecting this image. So star talent is being praised all the time, and companies that are looking after star talents as as the strategy for hiring collaborators. This is a sign of a fixed mindset culture, and the one that I wanted to stress the most because I think that that can go on your blind spot. Also, no one seeks feedback. There is this kind of pessimism. You know, when the client asks for a change in the scope, what I heard from teams with a fixed mindset was, oh my God, like I hate this client. I cannot believe he's asking me that. It's a ball of complaints that is a never-ending complaints, and they can never see that, for instance, wow, this can help us improve our product and get a better market fit for the product. So this means we can be more successful because we're listening more to the client. Also, ideas only come from a few people, so it's not something that is interactive or collaborative. There's also this challenge aversion. So you're usually trying to push your team to accept more challenges, try something different. And they usually say, oh, that's not my job, or I'm not very good at this, I'm better at something else. And this is a type of reactive communication. In the end, people resist new tech or change in scope. So a lot of those signs. One real case I wanted to share with you was about finance experts. This was in a tech company, and we were actually encouraging people to use the budget to ask for training. They were almost everyone asked for something, but this manager, he never did ask for anything. And this time we told him, okay, so you have to do something. And his director actually demanded that he chose something. to improve himself on. And what did he choose in the end? He chose Excel. Excel was a tool that he was already very proficient in. As a matter of fact, he was the go-to person for Excel problems or challenges people had. This is a very good example of how you can waste budget and time of your management if you don't pay attention to the fixed mindset, or if the person has a fixed or a growth mindset. He took something that he already knew because he wanted to protect the idea that he was super good at this. He didn't accept promotions as well or getting other departments. In the end, he was excellent at what he did, but we couldn't count on him for anything else. And he was the kind of person who's always complaining about anything new happening in the company. For leaders, spotting the fixed mindset in leaders is very interesting because it's usually the leader with the big ego. And when I say about big ego, I think that this excerpt from Lee Iacocca's biography, the former director from Ford, he said something that I think that it must have been super painful for him. So he was a very successful director, and he was responsible for a lot of important launches in Ford, but he was this kind of person. He needed constant validation. He surrounded himself with yes men, you're always right, you're super good. And he wanted people to feel like he was a genius. And when he got fired, it was like the floor opened under his feet, and he said, I had always clung to the idea that I was different, that somehow I was smarter and luckier than the rest. So he didn't believe that he had to do any effort to sustain the success he started when he first joined Ford. He thought that was just an expression of his natural talent. So he got really blind. He had a lot of blind spots about what the market was changing, the client's needs were changing, and he couldn't keep up. So he was caught also by surprise because he didn't have anyone close to him to make a constructive criticism, to give him some kind of feedback. So that's also a way of spotting a fixed mindset culture. Having one big ego leader doesn't make your entire culture with a fixed mindset, but probably that team is stuck on the fixed mindset. But if you have a lot of leaders like this, you can even be putting in endangering your company's sustainability and ability to adapt to change. And if you still want proof, I think this experiment that it's on Carol Dweck's book, it's amazing. And this is the proof that you can actually ingrain a mindset in a team. So this experiment goes like this. There were two teams of students. These students, they were challenged they were business students, and they had to simulate a furniture company, making employee placements and motivation decisions, okay? So the two teams had exactly the same tasks to perform, but the fixed mindset team received a prompt they were told the task measured their inherited management capabilities, while the other team, people were told management skills were developed through practice. All the rest of the experiment was exactly the same. The only thing that changed is how they prompt the team about their abilities to develop with a fixed or a growth mindset. So the fixed mindset group struggled with feedback, failed to learn from mistakes, and showed limited improvement, while the growth mindset team embraced feedback, adapted strategies, and significantly increased productivity. The results were much better on the growth mindset team, not only in productivity, but also in a healthy sense of confidence. So if you understand that growth mindset not only builds productivity, but also the sense of confidence, you can see that in the long term, the growth mindset team will have even better results than the fixed mindset team, because the lack of confidence will hinder their ability to take risks and to expose themselves. So the idea here is to, and this is a very good proof, sometimes people, that's all people need to actually try to assess their mindsets and change. But the important thing here is to understand that even if you hire someone that has shown to be very innovative in other situations, they might never flourish if you didn't prepare the soil for that seed to grow. So each talent we have in ourselves is like a seed. It can blossom or not. It depends on the ground that you're preparing, that you're laying for them to flourish. So remember, this is if you forget anything, but you just remember this, I'll be happy enough. Leadership communication and reward practices can directly impact people's mindsets. So what have we seen so far? Agile culture depends on growth mindset. Fixed mindsets hinder innovation and growth. And you can develop an organization or team mindset. Now let's go to the part that I think that you want the most. How can we go from awareness to action? What we want, the goal here is have people change from a judge and be judged framework to learn and help learn framework. That's the framework of the growth mindset culture. Creating awareness. The first thing is that for HR is to train leaders to believe in growth by providing a workshop focused on research and neuroscience data, showing how the brain actually grows and builds new neural pathways when you learn. Leaders can also support by adopting a coach style and talking about their fixed mindset personas. Why did I put Lisa Simpson here? Because Lisa Simpson is my fixed mindset persona. Fixed mindset is not an either or type of thing. It's not either you have a growth mindset or you have a fixed mindset. So when you take the assessment, you will see that some people can have mainly a growth mindset, but some fixed ideas. In my case, I have some fixed ideas. And the fixed idea is Lisa Simpson, the star student. So naming your fixed mindset, it's also a helpful way to deal with that. At some level of my life, being known as a high achiever in my family has built up my self-esteem. So the first time things got hard for me and I couldn't ask for help, I noticed that I had this fixed mindset. So I am talented. So if I am talented, if I am a high achiever, it doesn't make sense to ask for help. And that really harmed me for a long time until I had to face Lisa Simpson and say, okay, you're very good, but you still need to work on yourself and you still need to get help. So being vulnerable and talking about how things that you've seen and realized through the assessment that you still have a fixed mindset, then this could be a very good way to encourage your team to open their mindset and understand that this is a normal thing. The assessment behavior you will receive is focused on these 6 main behaviors. The first thing you have to understand is that you have to assess behaviors. You cannot assess mindset. You cannot assess intentions. You cannot read people's minds. But you can observe their behaviors. So stick to the end and you get my exclusive behavior-based growth mindset assessment you can use immediately. So I picked one behavior for you to check how this assessment goes. So you have the employee part and the leader, the influencer part. I put leader or influencer because sometimes you have a person who is very innovative in your team and they really create safe space for risk and experimentation for all the team, and they are not in a leadership role, but they can be a champion of that behavior. For instance, in innovation, we're not talking about innovation. Innovation is too broad of a concept, and it can be understood by people in many different ways. Narrowing that down to behaviors, you make sure that people really understand and they are on the same page about the expectations of how you can improve your growth mindset from the innovative perspective. For the employees, being a creative problem solver, to experiment with different approaches, record outcomes, and adjust methods. What I've seen in the briefings with my clients as leaders is that sometimes they are a creative problem solver, but they are not an innovation catalyst. They do experiment with approaches, record outcomes when they are working as an expert, but they have a very hard time promoting that for their teams. Usually the case is that you have a fixed mindset that you are innovative and your team is not. It's very common for star leaders, or people that have counted a lot on their own talents to imagine that everyone in the team is there to support their talent instead of the leader being responsible for developing this innovative approach in their teams. After you take the assessment, the important thing is to debrief. And you can go both ways here with your team. You can either what can HRs do to help teams with this? HRs can create reports that can be used by the teams. So when you have this 360-degree assessment, you can provide your leaders with very important information about the growth mindset of people, about how their ability to innovate, their ability to adapt, their ability to be humble, to learn. And leaders can use these reports and discuss and debrief them with their teams together collaboratively. So again, the slide is not here, but I'm not going to go over this, I know. Let's move on. And on the slides, you get the full content here. The third step is to create an action plan. Changing behavior is not the same as learning a hard skill. Willpower doesn't change behavior. And I am very assertive by saying this because this is the result of research. Willpower doesn't change behavior. That's why most diets don't stick. If you think about going on a very strict diet, you probably won't stick to the end because it's based on willpower. On the same time, if you adopt a different lifestyle and you understand that you have to eat healthy for the rest of your life, then you change your mindset, you adopt different behavior strategies to actually get this change. So how can HR support? You can provide an action plan for behavior change, a template and the strategy. So we will receive my template in blank and also with an example, field example, so you can understand how you can do that with your team. So picture this, you got the results and your team got the results. You can sit on one-on-ones with them and put together this plan or how they're going to develop this growth mindset, but focus only a few behaviors. Probably your assessment will have 3-4 behaviors that you should be developing. Focus on one at a time and actually understand how you can help your team and yourself to develop that one aspect. Once that becomes a habit, then move to the next one. And how can leaders support? Discussing different strategies with team members and constantly following up. Following up is super important. Repetition is super important for behavior change. Behavior change is super connected with habit formation. And agile culture is connected to habits. It has a lot of rituals and habits ingrained. This will only happen if it's repeated over time. If you do it once and it takes you like 1 month to actually check on that again, people will have forgotten everything that you've said so far. You have to put out so many fires during a day that action plan is long gone in your memory. Also, Another very good option is to reward growth mindset champions. So you can reward them, not if they're leaders or not, if they are champion in that. You have to find people who excel in each behavior and work on potentializing these behaviors instead of working just on gaps. Another very common mistake companies make when they're trying to change behavior, change culture, is just trying to correct behaviors, the behavior gaps. Is focusing too much on behavior gaps instead of focusing also on potentializing, on maximizing those champions, those people that already have those skills. So how can HR support? When I have my clients, I not only create this champion board listing just the 5 or 10, depending on the number of people. So the goal here is to highlight whoever is very good at that, not expose the ones that are not champions or not well developed on those behaviors. And you also can have leaders stop praising stars and recognize effort and ideas. So never say, you are so innovative. Paul is super innovative. So when you're praising that person, praise their behavior. So Paul, this idea that you gave was amazing, or this structure that you created was awesome. Congratulations. So you're praising the behavior. If you praise the behavior, Peter and Maria next to Paul would think, if I behave the same way, then I may be praised as well. But if you say that Paul is innovative, you are strengthening a fixed mindset on the rest of the group and also in Paul. And you can even hinder Paul's willingness to improve even further. The fifth tip I like to ask you is, I'd like to give you, is to keep the topic top of mind. As I told you, repetition is super important to create new and healthy habits. So if you want to increase culture, agility, innovation, feedback giving, then you must focus on reminding people of that topic. So routine eats good intentions for breakfast, and repetition is key for behavior change. How can HR support? Micro-learning is an excellent way. So it's small and frequent content. When I do that with my clients, of course, I have a designed content that has a logic between the cadence of this deliveries. But if you want to do this on your own, you can. If you can send like 2 times a week content related to this topic. Carol Dweck has a lot of videos on YouTube. There are amazing videos that you can use proving the research and talking about this. So there's a lot of information you can curate and send frequently to your team to keep the topic top of mind and avoid it going to memory lane. And how leaders can support. Bring the topic to everyday conversation. So if you feel that you're stuck on a brainstorming, for instance, with your team, you can ask them, how can we address this problem with a growth mindset? Do we have any fixed idea? Can you see a fixed mindset trap here? So ask for people to collaborate and don't start pointing out, this is a fixed mindset thing. It's not like this. It's proposing to get a different perspective and a new point of view. The sixth one is foster collaborative learning. Changing behavior is not the same as learning a hard skill. Again, I'm not going to repeat that enough because I still see this as the main mistake companies make when they want to talk about anything related to emotional intelligence, people skills, leadership skills, and cultural building. Good intention don't change behavior. So how can HR support? A peer coaching program can be an excellent idea for you to support that. And if you don't know how to implement that, reach out to me and we can discuss that. I don't have time to explain how this works in deep. And how leaders can support. Rotation roles can be a very good strategy where you can get different people to conduct different types of meetings. So you get them out of their comfort zone, even if they're not the best at that. So you have probably some people who are very good at presenting and others are not. But putting that others that are not good at presenting to present will develop communication skills, and you can also peer them with people that are champions on that thing. So you can transfer these skills and make this type of peer coaching. And finally is reassess. When I do this in the company, I like to do every 3 months. These are very short assessments. You're not assessing everything. You're assessing the things that they decided to change. So back when you assess them, you defined a goal. In your growth template, in your growth action plan, you define a goal. You define that maybe you want to be more of an innovation catalyst, that you haven't been acting like that frequently enough to your team. Perfect, no problem. But then you will only assess that behavior. You don't have to assess everything else. So you can make these sweet and very short surveys every 3 months. And HR can support with actually putting this process on, and leaders can debrief the results with the team with a growth mindset structure of meeting. So summing up, 7 steps for a growth mindset. Assess behaviors, not intentions. Debrief for setting goals, choosing one behavior at a time. Design an action plan. Download mine. It's a very great starting point. Adjust reward practices and habits to reward also efforts and behaviors, not only results and skills. And send constant reminders and incentives, and reassess as a habit. So I think I am, wow, up to the time here that I promised you to deliver this. So if you're ready to activate a growth mindset culture, scan this code. To book your debrief session with me, you can also send me an email and I can help you interpret this result or discuss any way I can help you. I can help your company, either if it's a leadership workshop, a team coaching, a leadership coaching, or a customized solution. And now I'm going to open up for questions. I think I've answered the 2 questions from the start. So the first question was, can a team have a mindset? I think that the experiment shows really well. So if you need to prove, to convince your leaders or your team that it's worth investing your time in growth mindset, show that experience, show that slide that's easily seen, that you can actually influence people's mindset. Any questions? You're on mute, or you're all on mute.
Just thank you for sharing this all information for us. So important for me.
Really? Where do you work, Alex?
IT Recruiter News is a big group, as IT Tech group.
Oh, really? And what was the thing, if you don't have any questions, I have some questions for you. What was the thing that surprised you the most? Or did anything surprise you?
No, because I'm an agile guy. I have a lot of certification of agile, PMP, I2, Scrum. Anyway, and this is issues for important for me because you can put together not about the IT process but HR process. For me is amazing.
Oh, okay. That's what I want. It's because I usually hear this like pushing things back and forth from HR and leaders. So this is not my ball. The ball is on your court. This is
Yes. Yeah,
not for me. And I wanted to provide leaders with arguments to ask HR for these things as well.
yes, because for example, for us, we use your methodology just to build a software. But if you use for example for HR process or for other process, it's amazing because you can improve your process, you can improve the mindset of all people. I love
Sure.
this.
And that I don't know if I think you missed the first part and the pyramid where I show the growth mind. Agile culture depends on growth mindsets because you're never going to adapt if you don't learn. If you're not open to learn. One thing that I like to say to people is that certainties are the biggest enemies for growth. People with a lot of certainties probably have a fixed mindset. So challenge certainties as a habit, especially your own. What else? So in one word, what did you get out of this session? Luis?
In one word.
No, few words.
Okay. I think the thing that we need to create a plan. It was a good thing because in my work, for example, I deal with a lot of persons with this fixed mindset, and so creating a plan to try to move and to change their mindset. Maybe it's a good way to achieve a goal. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that that's the first investment, because otherwise, as I told you, it's a waste of time because the person is already close to learning.
Yeah.
They're close to change. So anything you do before you address this open mindset, this growth mindset, is going to waste.
Yeah. Maybe for me it's this.
Yeah, exactly. Dima, are you there? I don't think he's there. Okay, guys. So thank you very much for being here, for everything, for the questions, for your presence. You will get the email as soon as I upload the video. You get the recording, the slides, anything else. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. And I'll see you on the next webinar. Oh, if you have suggestions of topics, I love suggestions. So give me what you would expect me, the next webinar to be, and then I'll prepare that for you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
Bye
Ciao,
bye, Carol.
ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.